What would you do if you woke up one morning to find an entire battleground deserted, the echoes of gunfire and shouts replaced by a haunting silence? This is the question that gnaws at me as I stand in the midst of the remnants of war where the bodies of brave soldiers once lay, now all vanished without a trace. This is not merely a story about a battlefield. It's a descent into the psychological terror that lurks in the shadows of memory and loss. My name is Lucas, and I was a soldier stationed here in the heart of Fort Ticonderoga, New York, where the winds whisper secrets of the past. It was supposed to be a routine deployment, one I had prepared for with enthusiasm and a sense of duty. But now, as I tread cautiously through the damp earth, the weight of my own footsteps feels like a betrayal. The ground is stained with the remnants of violence, yet it feels eerily untouched. How could every single soldier, my comrades, simply vanish? The air is thick with an unsettling stillness, a silence so profound it seems almost sentient. Shadows stretch and contort in the fading light, wrapping around the jagged remains of tanks and the skeletal forms of abandoned weaponry. I scan the horizon, searching for any sign of life, but all I see are the remnants of a once bustling camp, now reduced to a ghostly tableau. The only sound is my own breath, quickening with each passing moment, as if the very atmosphere is conspiring against. As I begin to explore the abandoned tents, memories flood back, each one a reminder of the friendships forged in the heat of battle. I see flashes of Daniel, with his easy laugh and reckless bravado, and Sarah, whose unwavering resolve inspired us all. We were a family, bound not just by duty, but by the shared understanding of what it meant to fight for something greater. But now, those connections feel like frayed threads in the fabric of my mind, unraveling as the mystery deepens. Suddenly, a chill runs down my spine, cutting through the tension like a knife. I notice something peculiar. A series of footprints leading away from the camp, deep and deliberate, as if someone, or something, has been here more recently than I. My heart races as I crouch down, tracing the pattern with trembling fingers. There are no signs of struggle, no indication of where they might lead, only a growing dread swelling in my chest. The landscape around me shifts, transforming from a mere backdrop into a malevolent entity. The trees loom like sentinels, their gnarled branches reaching out like hands, beckoning me deeper into the darkness. It feels as if the very ground is alive, whispering secrets that are both alluring and terrifying. I can't shake the feeling that I am being watched, that the silence is not just an absence of noise, but the weight of unseen eyes boring into my soul. The memories of the battlefield press heavily on my psyche, and I find myself grappling with an old trauma that resurfaces like a specter. I recall the day we lost a crucial battle, the day the war claimed not just lives, but pieces of my own spirit. It was a day that marked me forever, and now, standing alone in this void, I can't help but wonder if the ghosts of the past are rising to claim me as their own. But as night begins to envelop the camp, a shiver of anticipation courses through me. I am not alone here, and the answers I seek may lie just beyond the veil of darkness. But when night fell, something inexplicable happened. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an orange glow over the abandoned camp, I felt an unsettling shift in the air. The silence deepened, becoming a palpable force that wrapped around me like a shroud. I was no longer just a soldier in an empty battlefield. I was a man confronting the ghosts of my past, and I sensed that something larger lurked just beyond. The edge of the darkening woods. Suddenly, a rustling sound pierced the stillness, and I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. I turned toward the sound, squinting into the gathering darkness. That's when I saw him, a figure emerging from the trees, his silhouette outlined against the fading light. My breath caught in my throat as I recognized him. It was Jacob. a fellow soldier who had gone missing weeks ago during the last skirmish. I thought he was dead. Just another name added to the list of lost souls. "Jacob?" I called out, my voice barely above a whisper, laced with disbelief. He stepped closer, his expression unreadable, a mixture of relief and something deeper, something shadowed by fear. "Lucas," he replied, his voice hoarse. "I thought I'd never see you again." But there was an urgency in his tone that sent chills down my spine. "Where are the others?" I asked, desperation creeping into my voice. "What happened to everyone?" He shook his head slowly, eyes darting around as if he expected something, or someone, to leap from the shadows. "I can't explain it all right now. You need to come with me. We're not safe here." Confusion swirled in my mind, but instinct pushed me to follow. As we moved deeper into the woods, Jacob glanced back at me, his face pale and drawn. "I've seen things, Lucas. Things that don't make sense. We need to find the others before it's too late." "Too late for what?" I pressed, heart racing. He hesitated, his shoulders tense. "Before they come for us." A jolt of fear pierced through me, and I recalled the footprints I had discovered earlier, deliberate, as if they were leading me somewhere dark. "What do you mean, they?" But before Jacob could answer, a low growl echoed through the trees, sending a wave of dread crashing over me. I could feel the blood drain from my face as I instinctively reached for my sidearm. But it was gone, lost in the chaos of my memories and fears. The shadows around us thickened, swirling like smoke, and I felt a primal urge to flee. "We have to move," Jacob urged, grabbing my arm and pulling me further into the woods. I ran alongside him, adrenaline coursing through my veins as I struggled to comprehend what was happening. As we pushed deeper into the darkness, Jacob explained how he had stumbled upon an ancient structure hidden beneath the forest floor, a bunker filled with relics of a past war, artifacts that seemed to pulse with energy. "I think it's a conduit, a place where the past and present collide," he said, his voice trembling. "The soldiers who fought here are trapped, and something unwelcome is awakening." The weight of his words settled heavily on my chest, striking a chord deep within me. My own guilt over the losses we had suffered began to surface, mixing with the terror of the unknown that enveloped us. I felt torn between the bonds of duty and the instinct to survive. We burst into a small clearing, and there stood the bunker, a crumbling structure cloaked in vines and darkness. A flickering light seeped through a jagged crack in the stone, casting eerie shadows that danced along the ground. I could see faint silhouettes of figures flickering in and out of existence, their expressions a blend of anguish and desperation. "They're here," Jacob said, his voice barely a whisper. "We need to find a way to help them, before they take us too." As I stared into the depths of the bunker, a sense of foreboding washed over me. Whatever awaited us inside was not just a remnant of the past, it was a challenge to my very soul, to confront my fears and the memories I had tried so hard to bury. With every step toward the entrance, I felt the shadows closing in, and the question loomed. Was I ready to face what lay within? The air crackled with tension as we crossed the threshold, and I knew this was only the beginning of our descent into a darkness unlike any I had ever faced. As we stepped into the bunker, the flickering light grew stronger, illuminating the walls, adorned with old battle insignias and faded photographs of men who once stood proud. But the faces in those photographs twisted into grotesque masks in my mind, distorting the memories of my fallen comrades. A suffocating silence enveloped us, and I felt as if I were walking through the remnants of a nightmare I could never escape. Jacob moved cautiously ahead, his breath quickening, but I lingered at the entrance, my heart hammering against my ribs. The air was thick with an unsettling energy, making me question my own sanity. Was this truly happening? or had the horrors of war finally driven me over the edge? I could almost hear the echoes of laughter and gunfire from years gone by, blending with the whispers of the trapped souls that Jacob described. "Lucas," Jacob called, breaking my reverie. "We need to find them." I nodded, forcing myself to push deeper into the bunker. The shadows danced around us, warping the space and creating an illusion of movement at the corner of my eye. I glanced over my shoulder, half expecting to see phantoms creeping closer, but instead, I caught a glimpse of something that made my blood run cold. A figure stood behind me, its features obscured, but the familiarity of its form sent a jolt of recognition through me. It was my brother, David, who had been declared missing in action years ago. I stumbled back, my breath hitching in my throat. "David!" I choked out, disbelief clawing at my insides. But the figure vanished before I could reach out, leaving only a lingering sense of dread. How could this be? Had I truly lost my mind, or was something more sinister at play? "Lucas." "Focus!" Jacob snapped, drawing my attention back to him. "We can't dwell on what we see. We have to find a way to free them." But I couldn't shake the image of my brother from my mind. "What if they're not just trapped?" I said, my voice trembling. "What if they're changed?" Jacob's expression darkened. "That's exactly what I fear. They're not the only ones. This bunker, it's connected to something dark, something that feeds on grief and regret. I've seen it twist men's minds." A shiver ran down my spine as I recalled the faces of my fallen comrades, their lives snuffed out in an instant. The guilt that had haunted me since that day resurfaced, clawing at my insides. I had never understood why I survived when so many others didn't. Suddenly, the bunker trembled, and the light flickered violently, casting erratic shadows that warped around us. I felt a wave of nausea as I heard whispers, my name intermingled, with cries of anguish. "Lucas! Help us!" The voices were unmistakable, and my heart sank as I recognized them. They were the voices of my squad, begging for release from whatever torment they were enduring. I stumbled, clutching my head, struggling to grasp reality. Could I truly be hearing them, or was this just a manifestation of my guilt? "Lucas, we have to keep moving." Jacob's urgent tone broke through my spiraling thoughts. "If we don't find the source, we'll be trapped too." With renewed resolve, I nodded, forcing myself to push past the fear. But deep down, I felt the ground shifting beneath my feet, and I realized that the very fabric of my sanity was unraveling. Each step forward felt like a step deeper into a labyrinth of torment, where the past and present intertwined in a web of despair. As we ventured further into the bunker, I couldn't shake the feeling that the ghosts of my past were not just haunting me. They were demanding something, a reckoning I could no longer ignore. And as the whispers grew louder, I knew that the true horror of this place lay not just in its shadows, but in the truths I had buried. As we pressed deeper into the bunker, the whispers morphed into a cacophony, each voice layered over the other, creating a dissonant symphony of despair. I could feel the weight of their sorrow hanging in the air like smoke, choking me. Jacob and I reached a large chamber, its walls lined with old, rusted equipment. In the center, a flickering light pulsed like a heartbeat, illuminating a strange sigil etched into the concrete floor. "Lucas, this is it!" Jacob exclaimed, his eyes wide with a mix of hope and fear. "This must be the source of their torment." As I stepped closer, I felt an electric charge in the air, pulling me toward the sigil. The voices intensified, and I could make out the words now, distorted yet clear. "Help us! Free us!" I drew in a sharp breath, the weight of my guilt, crashing over me like a tidal wave. "I can't," I whispered, the realization sinking in. "I didn't save them when I had the chance. What can I possibly do now?" "Stop!" Jacob shouted, grabbing my arm. "You can't give in to that. They need you to confront this, to face the truth." The shadows around us thickened, swirling like a tempest. I felt the ground quake beneath my feet, and the sigil began to glow brighter, casting eerie shadows that stretched and twisted. And then, like a dam breaking, my vision filled with glimpses of my past, the faces of my squad, each one smiling, laughing, until the moment of horror struck, their lives snuffed out in an instant. "Lucas!" Jacob's voice broke through the chaos as he wrestled with the shadows, trying to keep them at bay. "You have to confront them. You need to acknowledge their pain." The ground trembled again, and I fell to my knees, overwhelmed by the memories crashing over me like relentless waves. "I'm sorry," I cried out, my voice breaking. "I should have done more. I should have saved you." Suddenly, faces emerged from the darkness, the very men whose laughter echoed in my mind. They looked at me, their eyes hollow, yet pleading. "You abandoned us," one of them whispered, the accusation slicing through my heart. "No, I tried," I protested. But the words felt hollow. "Face your guilt," Jacob shouted, struggling against the encroaching shadows. "Only then can you help them." With every ounce of strength I had left, I stood, confronting the swirling mass of my regrets. "I can't change the past," I shouted. "But I can. Honor your memory. I can fight for you." As I spoke those words, the sigil beneath me erupted in blinding light, illuminating the chamber and pushing back the shadows. I felt a surge of power coursing through me, igniting a fierce determination. The figures of my squad began to materialize, their expressions shifting from anguish to something resembling hope. But just as I began to believe we could break through, a dark force loomed, threatening to consume us all. Jacob's grip tightened on my arm, pulling me back. "We can do this together," he urged, his eyes fierce with resolve. In that moment, I realized this wasn't just my battle. It was ours. Together, we would confront the darkness. As the shadows writhed and lashed out, I steeled myself for the fight ahead, knowing that the outcome lay not just in my hands, but in the collective strength of those who had fallen, and those who still stood beside me. "Let's finish this," I declared, ready to face whatever lay ahead, knowing that this was a reckoning I could no longer avoid. As I charged forward, the brilliant light from the sigil illuminated the chamber, pushing back the shadows that had haunted me for so long. The figures of my fallen squad materialized around me, their once hollow eyes now gleaming with a spark of hope. Together, we formed a united front against the dark force that threatened to engulf us. With Jacob beside me, we unleashed a wave of energy, a bright, blinding force that surged toward the shadows, pushing them back moment by moment. The cacophony of whispers transformed into a chorus of strength, and I could feel the weight of my squad's memories fueling our fight. As we pressed forward, I could see the dark tendrils receding, but not without resistance. "Stay focused!" Jacob shouted, his voice a beacon amid the chaos. I could see the strain etched on his face, the toll this confrontation was taking on him. But I couldn't falter now. I had to honor the sacrifice of my brothers and fight for the living, for Jacob, for myself. The shadows shrieked violently, recoiling from the light. But as our combined energy reached a crescendo, a massive wave of darkness surged forward, crashing against us like an unrelenting tide. I felt my strength waning, the energy slipping through my fingers. But just as I thought we might be overwhelmed, I heard their voices again, their laughter, their camaraderie, their unyielding support. Together, I roared, channeling every ounce of emotion, every memory into a final push. In a blinding flash, the darkness erupted, consumed by the light, and the chamber shook violently as if the very foundation of the bunker was being torn apart. I felt a ripping sensation in my chest, as though my soul was being pulled in two, and then silence. I collapsed to the ground, gasping for breath, my heart racing. The chamber was now eerily still, the sigil dimmed but intact, the shadows vanished. I looked around, my body battered and bruised but alive. Jacob knelt beside me, his face pale but determined. "We did it," he breathed, relief washing over him. But I could see the cost etched into his features. The confrontation had taken its toll on him too. Yet as I scanned the chamber, I noticed something unsettling. The sigil still glimmered faintly, and the air crackled with residual energy. "Jacob," I murmured, dread creeping into my voice. "What if it's not over?" His brow furrowed as he followed my gaze. "We freed them, didn't we?" "Not entirely," I whispered, the weight of unresolved mysteries pressing upon me. "There's still something here, something we haven't fully understood." As we rose to our feet, I felt the scars of the encounter etched into my soul. The emotional weight of my guilt remained, a reminder of the price I had paid. And yet, I knew I had to confront it, not just for myself, but for the souls still tethered to this place. Outside the bunker, the world felt different, charged, alive, yet unnervingly quiet. I could sense Jacob's unease beside me. "What happens now?" he asked, his voice unsure. "I think we need to find out what this sigil means," I replied, steeling myself, "and why it still holds power." As we stepped into the dim light of dawn, I caught a glimpse of shadows lingering at the edges of my vision, whispering secrets I couldn't yet decipher. What had I awakened? What other mysteries lay in wait? And as the sun rose, I knew our journey was far from over. The battle may have been won, but the war against the darkness, both within and beyond, was just beginning. As I stood outside the bunker, the dawn light painted the world in hues of gold and crimson, but the warmth felt distant, overshadowed by the chill of uncertainty. The sigil's faint glow lingered in my mind, a reminder that the battle was not as conclusive as I had hoped. Jacob and I exchanged glances, our unspoken fears hanging heavily between us. Then a decision loomed before me. Two paths, both fraught with terror. The sigil pulsed in response to my thoughts, revealing a choice. I could either delve deeper into the shadows, risking total corruption to gain unimaginable power and perhaps control over the darkness that had haunted us. Or I could sever the bond entirely, a choice that would cost us the remnants of our squad spirits, forever banishing their presence, leaving Jacob and me to bear the weight of our memories alone. "Choose wisely," a voice whispered from the depths of the darkness, echoing my own fears. The thought of wielding that power tempted me, but at what cost? I could feel Jacob's breath quicken beside me, as if he sensed the gravity of the moment. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of my squad's memories pressing against my heart. "I can't do it, Jacob. I won't let the darkness win, not even to save myself." With that, I reached out towards the sigil, intent on severing the bond. But as I did, I felt an icy grip on my soul, a realization that the darkness would not let go without a fight. The chamber trembled, the shadows swirling, and I knew this would be a battle of wills far from over. In that moment of choice, I felt the crushing weight of loss, knowing that whatever path I chose, it would change us forever. As the darkness surged around us, I realized that while I might have made a choice, the consequences were still unfolding, a terrifying reminder that every action carries a cost. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. Share with your friends so they can also embark on this mystery-filled adventure. Leave a comment below, telling us your favorite part or what kind of ending you'd like to see in a future story.